If you're just always using the leads, always feeding the agents, then sooner or later, there's going to come a time where they're not going to be fed.
Yeah.
And they're going to be disgruntled or not happy or, fill in the blank. But that time will happen at some point, and then you're left with an employee that doesn't have the network, doesn't know how to generate, and, then it wouldn't be a good fit.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. So if I could go with a con of feeding fish, is that what are they really learning? Like, not to say you're in sales. I mean, Mooney Insurance Brokers, you sell insurance. Copper Hill Real Estate, we sell real estate. We help people buy and sell real estate. But it's still about the relationship. Welcome to the podcast dedicated to real estate, insurance, and everything in between. Join us as we take you along our own brokerage building journeys with additional wisdom from our network of business experts. Welcome to Bricks and Risk. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Bricks and Risk. I'm Tim Garrity.
And I'm Sean Mooney. And today's topic, Tim, we're going to be talking about fishing.
Ooh. All right. So
not like fly fishing.
We talking about deep sea? We talking about river?
Teaching to fish and finding fish.
Awesome.
That's the topic. So we'll dive in and talk about Copper Hill and kind of how it relates to the real estate market, your brokerage, and really how you're dealing with your talent that you have at Copper Hill and real estate agents and how you kind of approach that with them.
Awesome. Great. Love to dive into this. So feeding fish or teaching to fish is kind of a common thing in business. So let me relate it to some people who have never heard it that way. So feeding fish is more or less you're running a business where you're providing the leads.
Right.
So it doesn't matter how cold or warm they are. You're like, I'm just going to give you leads. Your job is to close those leads.
Yep.
That's more feeding fish. Teaching to fish is less about generating leads as a company and just giving them out. It's more about how do you teach that agent, how do you teach that employee to generate leads on their own? And this is really, I feel like this really comes down to kind of like your philosophy in business. So at Copper Hill, day one, we said, we will teach you to fish.
Yep.
That was our mission. That's our philosophy because that's how we learned. So when I got started in the business, I really didn't have anyone that even offered me any fish. I mean, that's not true. I interviewed with a couple of different brokerages where I could have been involved more in like a team model or more of like a bigger office model. But I think what didn't work for me with that was the approach is like, okay, if we give you all these leads, you're going to have to reach out to them. And most of them want you to reach out through phone to start. And if that's not working, maybe it's text, maybe it's email, whatever it is. And so for Copper Hill, we basically said, we want to teach you to fish because we want you to be able to provide for yourself, as that will allow you to have a career in real estate, because there are days where there aren't any fish to give. And if there aren't any fish to give, what do I just say? See you later? Like, go
the rivers aren't as bountiful.
Hey, like it happens. So day one, still today, 9 years in, we are huge proponents of teaching to fish instead of just giving fish or feeding fish. Now, do we have leads from time to time? Do we have opportunities? Of course we do. It's not 100% one or 100% of the other, but all of our training, all of our teaching, like the mentoring we do, the marketing that we do, more of a content marketing style, things like that, like that's all centered around teaching to fish. So relate that to Mooney Insurance Brokers.
Yeah, and I guess I'll go back 1 second. Is like, how does that relate? So that this is kind of like by design, how Copper Hill, we bring the people in and have them taught that way. Is that common in real estate, or is it vary by shop, or kind of like what's the norm in the industry?
I'd say the norm. Let's talk about first, like being a solo agent or being on a team. Teams are becoming more common now. Team is usually someone starts a team because they get too busy. So they bring in 1 or 2 or 5 people around them to service the opportunities that they have. Doesn't matter how they got that business, whether they got it through their own approach or through cold calling. It doesn't matter. So let's talk about the team concept, because again, I run a brokerage. We're basically a large team. That's how we look at ourselves. I would say with most teams, they are feeding fish. And the reason a lot of people want to promote the team model is because new people getting into real estate, they're like, I need fish. Like, I don't have any. I'm freaking starving. And someone has to give me something to eat. Otherwise, how am I supposed to make it in this business? So I would say it's more common in the team concept, as well as kind of, I would say a smaller brokerage, it's more common to feed fish. With us, we looked about it as like, we want our agents to be higher quality versus the quantity, the number of agents we have. In the beginning, we just took anyone and everyone because we knew them or we had a relationship. Hey, if we know them, we trust them in some way, shape, or form, come on in. And then as they would come in, they're like, where are my leads? Or why aren't we doing this? Or how about some opportunities that look like this? And then it was almost coming up. It's like, well, that's not really how we operate. And that was also, we had to look at ourselves and be like, hey, maybe we're not explaining when people come in, even though that relationship was there, we're not explaining up front what our expectations are for that agent. Because if they say, hey, if I'm not going to be fed, I really don't want to work here. Yeah. So that I think is huge. Setting expectations is huge. And then for us, like I said, we kind of do it different. I think starting our own brokerage, we did it different. We didn't want to be like everyone else. We wanted to be unique. We wanted to offer something unique. Even in the podcast world, we listen to podcasts. We've talked about this before. How many podcasts focus on the teaching the fish philosophy versus just what do my scripts look like? Like, how do I service these leads? Like, how do I get more leads? How do I do this? So relate that to Mooney Insurance Brokers.
Yeah. And I think with our industry, it's probably, it's hard to say because I'm sure there's shops out there. It's like, you find it, you kill it, you write it.
Yeah.
And that's how we roll. Right. And I think that's one way of doing it. Like, you bring in everything on your own. The way we do it is a little bit differently. I think it's probably a hybrid setup for what we do. And so there's clearly an expectation that our agents are going to need to develop relationships and organically write new business.
Do you teach on that? Do you mentor that? Or you're like, go out and do it, and then when you need help, let me know? Do you stay ahead of it?
I think it's more of finding the channels of like how to build the relationships and like more so like where to find the business.
Okay.
I think is the big thing that we kind of emphasize.
Almost telling them where to go fish.
Yep.
Type of thing.
Yep. And because, I mean, it all depends on like, we brought a producer in last year and he had experience doing insurance. So for him in that scenario, it's a lot less training to, how to sell or how to develop your network, right? He understands the concepts. He understands the policies and the coverages, but there's going to be a limitation on where he's going to be able to grow. And so then we kind of strategize about, hey, let's try this. Let's do these calls. Let's do this list or build out your network. Like today, he went to go see a commercial client that, is new to our brokerage. And so getting out there and engaging with, current clients and that sort of thing. So I say for us, there's clearly an expectation that you're going to have to bring business in. It's mandatory.
All right. So if you're a hybrid, where did the fish come from? So if you're feeding fish to Patrick, and obviously some of those fish go to you too, so you can service them, grow the company, grow your client base, weed out the people you don't want to work with. How do you get those? So if you're promoting more of a hybrid, there must be a marketing strategy to
that's what it is. So some of the business is going out and finding the clients, getting the business. And then the other is providing leads or providing new business opportunities for our sales team.
Okay.
And so that is what we rely on is the referral business that comes to us, which makes up a big majority of the new business
Yep.
transactions that we have within the brokerage. Um, internet web leads that are coming through for the brokerage that we're then passing off to our sales team.
Okay. I hate to go down too much of a rabbit hole. Do you pay for leads, or is that leads, or are those leads coming more from like a content marketing standpoint, like SEO, blogging, social media, things like that? Are you trying
Can
to
I
drive it
re-
through that?
can I answer and say the hybrid model again? I
Yeah.
just go again with that.
Yeah.
But that's what it is, really.
Yeah, tell me
Honestly.
about it. I'd like to know.
So referrals are coming through, generated from the business and the book of business that we have.
Yep.
Friends referring friends. We also have web leads that are coming through. Again, we're talking about organic leads that are coming in. Hey, I'm looking for this. I
found your website,
your local here.
looked up insurance and Ambler, you popped up, type of thing.
Yep. So that again is organic, not paid traffic that we're kind of seeing come through as a lead. Again, gets pushed over to our sales team. And then we also combine that with, we do buy what's called expiration lists. So lead list.
Okay.
So
How do those work in insurance?
so you pick a geographical area and whatever algorithm they have to know that, these 200 people that are within a 100-mile radius.
You're like Rittenhouse Square.
Yeah. Justin Hill, right in the house. Their insurance is expiring in the next 60 days.
Oh, cool.
And so you can, use that as a point to reach out. So we're paying for them. So it's a kind of a marriage of the two. Is you have the paid leads that we're bringing in, and then marrying them with the organic non-paid traffic that we see into our brokerage.
Wow. So if it was Chestnut Hill, you're like, yo, you want to go grab some Schmitters at McNally's?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Get a couple of pints of Guinness.
Yeah. Yeah.
For those that don't know out there in Philadelphia, there's a fantastic bar restaurant called McNally's in Chestnut Hill, and they make this cheesesteak that is out of control. I know I like my cheesesteak simple, but this one is just it's top. It's like top 3 for me.
It's out of this world. It's funny. For my birthday, it's like the weird thing is like, hey, where do you want to go for your birthday? And then this year I was like,
you're like, please put a candle on that Schmitter.
Yeah, I was like, gotta go, got a long roll for the birthday.
You're like, do you have the sparkle candles?
Yeah. It's one of my favorites for sure.
Nice. Hey everyone, this is Tim, your favorite Bricks and Risk co-host. But don't tell Sean. I hope you're enjoying this episode, and I'll get right back to it in a moment. Our audience grows through word of mouth, so if you would please take a moment of your time and give us a review on the platform you're on, that would be fantastic. Please also help spread the B&R word by sharing your favorite episode with a friend. We greatly appreciate your time and trust. Now, back to the show. All right, so we've talked about Mooney Insurance Brokers, like how you look at it, feed fish or teach the fish. We've looked at the same for Copper Hill. Let's talk about the general pros and cons to feeding fish versus teaching to fish. Yep. Hey, you know me. I've said it before. I'm always half full. My glass is half full, so I'm gonna be positive. Let's talk about the pros first of feeding fish. Even though it's not my thing, let's talk about it. So here's some of the pros. I think one of the biggest, I'm gonna say one of the easiest ways to grow let's say your real estate team or your real estate brokerage, whatever you're trying to accomplish out there, is really to take out your credit card and say, I'm going to work this into my marketing budget. You can go to Zillow, you can go to Realtor, you can go wherever you want to get these leads. There's a million places to do it now. And just say, here's the area or areas I want to focus on. And I know what to expect. I know how many I'm going to get. And the pro is, how much traffic is probably going to come in. You understand conversion. So then you can kind of predict how well you're going to do or not going to do. And therefore you can hold people accountable. So I think that's more of a scientific approach that you're like, hey, I'm going to buy these leads. I got my training. I got my scripts. And then if I'm not getting business out of it, then I need different people, or I need to improve my scripts, or I need a different neighborhood, whatever. So I'd say that's a pro. What about
Yeah.
you?
I think that, I guess how to go with this, but it's keeping your employees happy, right? I think that's like one of the pros for
Yeah.
that.
They're fed every day, so they're not gonna go hungry.
Yeah. And so this was one of the questions that I had for you was, is it rare or is it common that you have an agent come in where they were a person that was in a shop that relied on getting fed? Like, have you ever seen the scenario where you've taken that type of realtor, brought them in, and shown them as like, well, this is how you build out your network, and kind of like
Yeah.
changed the way that they operate,
Yep.
or most hardwired, like, this is what I've done. This is the way we've done it in the past with my other firm. And this is what, this is my expectation.
I mean, 9 years in, we know who we are. We know who we're looking for. So if I knew that up front before we even like had a sit down or had a Zoom or something, I'd just probably say it's not a good fit. But let's say someone's coming from a successful real estate team, and let's say it was all about feeding fish. Like they weren't teaching anything. They're like, you're a cog in the machine. And in order for the machine to run, I need you to do this, which is make calls, set appointments and close deals. Like that's what they're looking to do. Sometimes I'll meet someone in the business who the team is focused on that, but they've been doing it for 3 years. So they're doing it for 3 years and they're like, okay, I've had some mild success. I'm making enough money to live, but I'm not where I want to be, which is probably why they're talking to me. They're like, hey, maybe another option is the best way to go. And then when they come to me and they already know a little bit about Copper Hill, I'll say to them, where does most of your business come from? Are you being fed by the team, or is it coming through your own efforts, through your own networking or your network? And those people usually say the 70, 80% come from me.
Yeah.
Like I am closing the deals based on the people I know or the people I have met on my own accord. A mortgage relationship, a networking event, your cousin, a friend of a friend, whatever it is. Like that's how they're closing their business. And when they come in, I'm like, well, the team you were at, their training and their mentoring is based on their system. So that's what all they're going to be pitching to you is that. If you're closing, 4 out of 5 deals through relationships, all of my training is based on that. My philosophy is based on that. That's how I grew as an agent. Yeah. That's how I grew as a brokerage. Those are the agents we're attracting. And then I can just take that approach up a notch through those agents. Like you can talk to anyone here and go talk to a few of our most successful agents and ask how I've helped them or what I've offered them to have them see it a little bit differently to grow their own business. But yeah, to answer your question, I have seen that. And what's nice about where we are in our careers and being in business for a while, you know who you are. Yeah. And when you know who you are, it's very easy to just say, it's not the right fit.
Yeah.
And I mean, all right, so we talked about a couple pros.
Yeah, let me introduce this one as I am the chief in-house glass half empty.
Yes, please.
President.
All right, so let's talk about cons. So I'm going to let you go half empty Mooney here.
Yep.
So let's have at it. What are the cons of feeding fish?
We touched upon it earlier, but you're limited, right? So if the whole system is built upon we just feed, eventually sooner or later it's going to dry up.
Right.
Those leads for whatever reason may not be there. Industry might change, slow down, whatever that might be. Or let's say that, there is some other change within the agency that, hey, we don't have the money to allocate towards these leads, right?
Yep.
And so if you're just always using the leads, always feeding the agents, then sooner or later there's going to come a time where they're not going to be fed.
Yeah.
And they're going to be disgruntled or not happy or, fill in the blank. But that time will happen at some point. And then you're left with an employee that doesn't have the network, doesn't know how to generate, and, then it wouldn't be a good fit.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. So if I could go with a con of feeding fish is that what are they really learning? Like, not to say you're in sales. I mean, Mooney Insurance Brokers, you sell insurance. Copper Hill Real Estate, we sell real estate. We help people buy and sell real estate. But it's still about the relationship. So if it's about the relationship and all you're doing is going out and slinging deals and it's just about numbers, then the relationship is going to be in second place. It's about how many deals or how many calls did I make? How many people did I convert? How many appointments did I get? How many deals? And again, I hear this all the time. It's not that it's not true. They're like, you can't be in business without closed deals. That's true. But you can also get business. Like if you're not on the phone all day converting people, and you're looking to build your business, what are you doing? You're having lunch with the top people in your network. You're going to that networking event a couple times a week. Maybe you join a networking group. You're doing community service. You're doing things so you're trying to be more social. Like you're in a running club, you're in a foodie club, you're in a movie club, a book club, whatever it is. That's how you're spending your time, and you're naturally you're doing lead gen, people you don't know yet. Like we go out and do that networking, you don't know these people.
Yep.
So, I mean, again, the high quality lunch or coffee, you do, but all the other things I just said, you don't know anyone.
But you also don't know where that next lead is coming from.
Totally.
And so the more you put yourself out there, the more networking groups you do, the more social events you do, it's all interconnected.
Yep.
And, will provide you with opportunity.
Okay.
Down the road.
Let's talk about, all right, so we've talked about, I think we've been pro teaching to fish enough on this episode. Let's talk about some of the cons of teaching people to fish. Because like you said, one example you gave, which just stuck with me, is you were like, hey, they get in, they're hungry. Like, I need to eat.
Yeah.
You're like, we don't have any food.
Yeah.
So like, could take you a month.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what, am I supposed to go hungry for a month? Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, let's talk about that path. So what are some of the cons of teaching to fish?
Well, I think it's if we boil it down to it, it's really about mindset, right?
Yep.
And talking about the roles within the brokerage as to finding, the right people to do the right things. And, the con for feeding, I mean, not many cons.
No, the con for teaching.
Yeah, the con for teaching. Well, I guess I was thinking that. So the con, I don't know. I'm going to let you.
I mean, for me, like, I think one of the biggest cons for teaching people to fish is time, because they're going to come in. They want it right now. Like instant gratification, like put me to work.
Yeah.
Give me something. What can I do? And if you're feeding and someone comes in, you're like, pick up the phone. Here's 500 people to call. Have fun. That's your whole week. Like they come in within a less than a half hour and they got their week planned out. Someone comes in and you're like, hey, all right, we got to figure out what kind of rod fits you best. Where are we going to be fishing? If we're going to be fishing there, what kind of bait are you supposed to use? So it's going to be less instant gratification, a little more boring. Let's be honest. If they're not super into that, no matter what they said, they're going to be like, oh, this is kind of stupid. Like, when am I going to fry the fish up and eat it?
Yeah.
I know my friend down the street, he joined this brokerage and he's out there crushing it. He's got 5 appointments this week. I have none. So I think a con is in setting expectations. So if you want someone to come in, feel real good right away and have a lot for them to do, a feeding fish type of model is going to be more relevant. If you want to come in and set expectations day one, like, okay, are you in a relationship? Like, do you have?
Are you allowed to ask that?
Do you have savings? Is there any other form of income that you have if you're single right now? Getting into do you bartend at night? Like, are you a photographer on the weekends? Like, those are the questions I ask people if I don't know them and they're new.
Yeah.
And if they're like, there's no other income. I'm like, how opposed to you as to getting another source of income? Because it's going to take time with me. It's going to take time with Copper Hill. And there are some opportunities to do things. You know, do we have open houses? Yes.
Yeah.
Like, do we get website
Yeah.
leads? Yes. But is that what I'm doing all day? No.
Yeah.
So therefore, I have to really set expectations day one on the cons.
What if they come in and they like want to blow it out of the water, you know?
Hey, take out your credit card and have a good time doing something. But I won't tell you to just go get cold leads. I'd say take out your credit card and join a BNI group, you know, because that's going to be a couple $100 a month.
Yeah.
So go do that. Take out your card and go invest in a videographer, and let's build that video content for your social media, which is free. Like, let's go invest in a marketing company, $500 a month, to do your newsletter for you, to help with your social media, to film that video. Like, that's what I would tell them to do. So if someone says, I need it now,
Yeah.
then I'm like, then invest in yourself. Pull out your credit card. Everyone's got a credit card. Everyone's got room. How much risk are you willing to take? If you're like, I really don't want to do that, then it's like, then we have to take it slow. Otherwise, this is not a good fit. This is just not a good fit for you, because if you want to go fast, if you want to take the gasoline and you want to dump it on the fire and you want to get a big bonfire going, then how much risk are you willing to take? Take out that credit card or take out your savings account, and I'll tell you exactly how to do it fast.
Well, it's funny too, because how much confidence could they have in themselves, right?
Yep.
So if you have a person that's like, yeah, here's my credit card, like, let's go. Like,
Let's do it. Tell me how to spend my money.
You know what I mean?
All right, let's do your marketing plan.
Yeah.
What's your budget for the year? I spend $1,000 a month. Perfect.
Yeah.
That's a good budget.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't want to put all of our eggs in one basket. Here are a few things you can consider. Which one of these feels good? You like shaking hands and kissing babies? Or do you like sitting more behind your laptop and strategically marketing yourself online? Or do you like both? And then once you figure out, I used to call it, here's the way I used to call it. Are you an aggressive agent or are you a passive agent? Because if you're aggressive, you want to go out and look people in the eye and shake hands and pass out cards or do whatever you want to do. If you're passive, you're thinking more strategically. You're thinking about it more. You're putting thought into it. You're like, no, I want to go more the content strategy. If everyone's online, if 99 out of 100 people will look online before they talk to an agent, where do I want to be? I want to be online. Okay, build out your profiles. Start a blog. You know, start building out that video content. And you can DIY it. Go spend $300. Get yourself a circle light and a stand for your iPhone, not your Droid.
Yeah.
And if you have a Droid, guess what? You're not working here. Okay? So
That'd be a deal breaker.
that would be close to a deal breaker.
So go out, buy the burner iPhone, and come work for us.
Come on in with your burner iPhone so that you can work at Copper Hill, and then go start working on your Droid. All right. So that's how I'm going to wrap it up with that. That's all we have for this one, folks. Thank you for tuning in
Until
to another
next time.
episode of Bricks and Risk. We'll see you soon. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Bricks and Risk. Our goal is that you walk away with 1 or 2 valuable nuggets, and we greatly appreciate you sharing your time with us today. You can find all BNR episodes on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and anywhere else you get your podcast content. Until next time, keep learning and keep growing.